How does stress look like? Is there anything positive about stress? And how do we manage it properly? I am Catalina George, and today we will talk about both personal experience with stress, but also what psychologists say. According to official data, 500,000 people have suffered with work-related stress, anxiety and depression in the UK in 2016-2017. Or at least that many have been diagnosed. Also, 12.5 million work hours have been lost due to work-related stress, anxiety and depression in the same period. All of this data is available on the Health and Safety Executive website. Also, the website lists the industries with higher than average levels of stress. The top industry is related to human health and social work activities. And I do know this field from my experience as a support worker for adults with learning difficulties. But more recently, my levels of stress were higher than normal because of a number of reasons, and not all of them negative. Since January, I've been focusing on my final project for my master's degree in online journalism. As a part-time student, it took me 2.5 years to complete my studies, and you can imagine how important this final project has been to me. While working on my last stage of my final project, I got invited to an international conference on psychology and therapies in Eindhoven. I attended as a freelance journalist, and I actually learned about stress and anxiety. If you do follow my Land Inside page on Facebook, you might have noticed my reports, videos and the posts that I wrote from and about the conference. This opportunity actually helped me identify and understand my own stress better. And it made me think about how I deal with it and if there's anything I could change in the way I perceive and I manage it. But what is stress then? Psychologists remind us that stress is a natural reaction to danger. So if a branch of a tree suddenly comes loose and threatens to fall on our head and we get stressed, we use stress for survival and for keeping ourselves safe. Trouble is, we often get stressed about imaginary threats. And that's when stress tends to become chronic and when we actually really struggle with it. One of the speakers at the conference, Professor Dr. Elke van Hoff, a clinical psychologist from Belgium, talked about how we can use stress positively, but also about the dangers. And I want to read you her own words about this. She said, "We gain from stress. It helps us process information and learn. If you want to get more performant, you need to use stress positively. Use dangers as opportunities to learn something." And also the warning. In chronic stress, people lose these skills to learn from danger, and they always get caught in a loop. Their body's resources get depleted little by little. They eventually get exhausted and can develop long-term vulnerability. And just as Ritu, a clinical psychologist from India whom I have befriended, said, most of stress reactions are caused by imaginary situations which can actually be avoided. Ritu commented on one of my personal posts on Facebook, on my personal profile, where I was talking about my own stress. Now, if you think about it, does this actually make sense? Do you find yourself sometimes worrying about things that you either can't change or that you could do something to avoid them? I will tell you now what I tend to worry about and stress mostly. And the first thing on the list is being late. Easily avoidable with a little bit of better time management. And the second on the list, linked directly to being late, is driving. sometimes, instead just focusing on the driving and on being organized, I just get really angry and frustrated about being late, and that can only make things worse. Let's say that actually those two are one and the same thing, being late while driving. And the second major thing that I worry and stress about is not getting things done properly. But when I do something like this vlogging, for example, if instead of talking to you and communicating what I want to say to you, I would stop and worry about, am I doing this right? And all of that, how much time and energy would I actually waste on worrying about the quality of what I'm doing, rather than doing it and focusing on each step of the process. And the third thing, not really in a scale of importance, is worrying that I do not do enough to make my partner happy, or sometimes that I just do too many mistakes. Yeah, in everyday life, silly, stupid little things. When I worry about these things, even if I did a mistake that I could actually fix, if I stop and keep worrying and winding myself up, I end up being stressed. And if I am stressed, that has more of a negative impact on my partner, because then he's got to deal with a very negative vibe from me. And how is that even going to make things better? And I can tell you what my partner stresses most about. For him, it's unfinished tasks. That is why he needs one room in the house to be completely clutter-free, with no things just laying about like a dressing gown or shoes from last night or whatever that is not meant to be there, so his mind can relax and unwind. Otherwise, if he sees these things around, he keeps thinking that he needs to do something about them. Our kitchen is nice and clean. But the laundry room falls behind. I have got a backlog of ironing for about possibly 2 weeks. And a little secret. I am actually the official keeper of the chocolate in this house, because for my partner, an unfinished chocolate bar is an unfinished task. As a working adult and a postgraduate student, with a family life and a passion for writing, I had to learn to structure my life better. And after the conference, I've been thinking a lot more about the relation between body and mind. Because if we just keep pushing our bodies and they get overexhausted and they cry for help, but we actually decide in our minds to ignore it, what can that do? It will just create more tension and it will just fuel up stress. But what everyday little things can we actually do to keep our minds from overstressing? I will tell you, and actually I will show you what I tend to do. Every morning I open the door and I go out to have a look at my garden. I've started planting it last year, and now just look how everything's been growing this springtime. Do you remember the tomatoes that I've planted a while ago? Let me show you how they're doing. Ta-da! And at the end of this vlog, I've got something very, very important to tell you. Today, when I'm recording this, I have submitted my final project for my master's degree. Woohoo! After that small victory dance, I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. Next time, I will take you out with me to explore the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. Until next time then, ciao! Such a weather in the UK, you wouldn't even believe it.